songs. So then like it's like hard to just sit here and listen. You know what I mean? Because I have so many other things on my to-do list or whatever.
Yeah.
That it's like where do you find that space? You know?
Maybe down the line, once we get a few episodes deep and we get some listenership, we'll put like a challenge out there. Like, all right, for like the next month, once a week, we want everybody to just pick one song and like sometime this week, just sit and just listen to it and just like write down notes on what you like about it. You know, that'd be like a good challenge, and then share it with everybody, you know, and then send us your, you know, whichever song you listen to and your notes. And then, you know, we can talk about that on
Cool. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Challenges are fun.
Yeah. Challenges are fun. You know, like, I challenge you to go listen to music that you like, you know, but like the fact is that's challenge
accepted.
It's like, it's something we should be doing, but like without a motivator, it's like, even as musicians, we're like, I feel like as musicians, maybe we get to listen to music less because we're so interested in creating it and playing it and promoting it and marketing it and like doing everything around the music that like we don't get the chance to just sit and listen anymore.
Yeah, we're so busy trying to like get more music in that we like forget that like we're doing music.
Yeah, all the music out there is competition. You know, it's like it's not. We can't have an objective view on it anymore. You know, which I actually want to do an episode on competition within music as well, because it's a very interesting topic. But that just occurred to me now. It's like when you're listening to music, it's like, oh, like,
I'll have to add that to the Trello
that's those
boards.
other people who are playing music too. They're in the same industry. That's interesting.
Yeah.
They're both brethren and competitors at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, or are they? Maybe they're not. Like, how can you compete against the Beatles? You can't.
You can't even.
And
try.
if you tried to do that, we'd just give up. What are we doing here, Ben? The Beatles already existed. Why are we even
existed.
trying?
It's over.
That's another self-doubt issue.
Self-doubt.
You know, like, so the greatest band already came and went. Why is anyone still creating music? And these are the things that we're going to tackle. Like, because we are still going to play music. Ben's going to keep doing his thing. I'm going to keep doing my thing. We're going to persist.
And we're here. We're here.
We're here in the studio doing this now.
We're here right now.
This is part of the persistence.
And you're going to hold us accountable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's part of your job,
audience,
listeners.
Keep us accountable.
So, but yeah, I think Ben and I haven't spoken to a single musician who has not, at least at one point or another, had these thoughts or suffered from these issues.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, this was a big one to tackle head on.
I respect the hell out of musicians that are able to just put stuff out there like without even second guessing themselves. Mm-hmm. Like I've had so many clients that have become like super perfectionistic about like the balance in the mix, this and that, like, and I think like in this day and age it's so important to put things out there and just like remember that it's also a little bit of a numbers game. Like your first thing that you put out is not going to be your masterpiece. You need to keep putting things out. Like think about how many songs the Beatles wrote. Hundreds, maybe thousands that we just don't, maybe we don't know about all of that. I don't know. But you know, there is a numbers game involved in it, and like you need to just keep putting yourself out. I was listening to this really interesting interview with this guy that I follow. His name is Mixerman, or AKA'd as Eric. He's AKA'd as Mixerman. His real name is Eric Serafin, and he was like going on about like the woes of the industry. So Mixerman talks about how he thinks this generation has like no boundaries, and like people just like put everything out there, and like even if it's crap, and there's like no filter. And like basically like because there's no filter, you have all these guys like coming out with like, you know, even like mixing tutorials, stuff like that, like, or how to play guitar like a pro, people that don't actually know what they're doing and aren't really qualified in his opinion to do such things. And he might be right, but he said he thinks it's a generational thing. He thinks our generation is just don't have as much embarrassment gene or whatever. Like we have no bars like are held or whatever.
No holds barred.
No holds barred. Yeah, I don't know. Early morning for me. But,
Thank you, Ben, for waking up and doing this, by the way.
Yeah.
I do want to give Ben credit for that. As the full-time musician and playing nights, waking up early to do this shows
to bed late.
The Ben hustle.
Ben Hustle.
Hashtag
Ben Hustle. We could put that in the show notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, hashtag.
Share your favorite Ben Hustle story. I have a few. I have a bunch I could share. Okay, anyway,
you're making me embarrassed here. No. So he talks about how like there's no like, you know, there's no holds barred, you know, just because the internet just gives everybody access. And this generation, our generation, has like no problem just putting stuff out there, and maybe even if it's not necessarily up to snuff. And but you know what? I think it's even if it's just a generational thing, I think it's at the point where you got to do it anyways. You know what I mean? Like there's no other way to go about it. The floodgates have been open. The internet is there. Everyone can see you. And if you want to make anything of yourself, you got to, at a certain point, just put things out there. And, fearing that this mix isn't going to be perfect, or that, or that, like you're not 100% happy with the work you did, doesn't mean that you should can it, Yeah. Like I have friends that like almost didn't put out their album, and it's just like you put so much work into it, like you got to put it out.
Yeah, the only piece of that doesn't make sense to me, I think it's a very valid viewpoint that Mixer Man has about that.
Yeah,
because I think it's true.
I think it is true. Also,
at the end of the day, the market, like Gary Vaynerchuk keeps saying, the market is the market is the market. So, like you can. Yeah.
Location.
There's no filter. So everyone's going to put stuff out, and it might not be perfect. But at the end of the day, you don't even need the market to like it. You just need a market to like it, right? So whether it's perfect or not, or there's just no barrier of entry, at the end of the day, in order to be, quote, successful in a business sense, you still need people who enjoy what you're putting out, right? Yeah. And to respond to that. So like, if it's not that the bad thing is that people can't, there's no barrier of entry anymore. Like that's just the thing that he's focusing on. I'm trying to figure out why that bothers him so much, because at the end of the day, that's not going to define who's successful and who isn't. It's going to be if each person putting something out can put it out to an audience that then it resonates with, who will then come back for more. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think he was like more concerned with like people who are like putting up mixing tutorials who literally have like no idea what they're talking about in terms of like how a compressor works or something. And he's like, so all these people are going to go towards them and be misinformed. That was like, I think,
that's interesting. So that's interesting because.
But music is different, I guess.
Right, music is a little different. But I hear what you're saying. No, so that's an interesting thing. I don't want to delve too deep into that. But I hear Mixer Man's point on that. I do too. I have what to say about it, but I want to save that for another time, because I think we're veering away a little away from the self-doubt topic and more into like business, the music, like the state of the music business sort of thing, which we want to do. Yeah. Like,
I think state of the music business stuff is going to come across in every episode a little bit to some degree.
So to dive into this for a minute, then my only thought on that is I think at the end of the day, the market will still define who's successful and who's not, because that guy who's misinformed might not know as much. So if people are walking away and they go then approach a compressor and come out with a sound that they enjoy,
then that's good.
Then is that okay or not? Like, as a coffee, let's take it to coffee for a second. Like,
I love this.
I like to say that I am a coffee enthusiast. I'm not a coffee snob. Why? Because I don't believe that every person has to drink their coffee black with no sugar and milk. Like, people are like, what do you think of instant coffee? I'm like, I think it's fine. Like, it's still coffee and people are enjoying it, right? When I drink instant coffee...
it's like pop music, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly. When I drink instant coffee, I put milk and sugar in it. I do. Like, I don't necessarily
you can't take that stuff down black. Yeah?
I can't. But like at the same time, I still enjoy that cup of coffee. I'm not going to say, oh, it's instant. It's like, for me, the coffee is about the experience. So long story short is like, I don't think it has to be... Like, if someone is buying a product, they're buying a course about compressing, and the person talking about it obviously knows more than the person buying it, hopefully. And even if they don't, put it this way, at the end of the day, if I spend $50 on a mixing course and I don't walk away with anything, I'm going to review it badly, right? So the market gets to decide what's successful. If I walk away and I say, hey, I applied these lessons to my kick drum in my next mix, I like the way it came out because of that, then that's value.
If it gets you more clients, and
right? If someone is totally putting out complete misinformation, like saying like, no, you need a reverse ratio of 1 to 3 in compression, like then
if it's like literally, like
literally just not making sense, like just nonsense, like you can't do that, like. I mean, like my brain is breaking. Like, why would you do that? Like, but
there is an opposite to compression. It's called. I'm like, my brain is like a little too slow for this right now.
Amplitude.
No. It's whatever. It's on the tip of my tongue.
The inverse.
There's an inverse to compression.
But the long story short is
expander.
So if someone is misinforming and is blatant, then like they should be called out.
Yeah, and they probably will be.
And they probably will be at some point.
Because they're on the internet.
Yeah. So that's I'm sort of putting my faith in the market.
Yeah.
I put my faith in the market a lot.
This is a capitalistic viewpoint.
That people who are misinforming and putting out bad products, bad product, the definition of which means something that is not adding value to people or to a certain subset of people, that will go under eventually. Yeah. Could be 3 months, it could be 3 years, but it'll eventually go under. So I do, and again, I totally validate, I totally understand where Mixer Man is coming from, but at the same time, like I like to put faith in the market that they'll weed out those people over time.
Yeah. And now you saying this is like validating myself for the thoughts that I was self-doubting earlier. I was like, well, people still recommended me to this well-known artist. Like, that means that someone is like appreciating the work I did. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have gotten even to that stage if I didn't have at least something going for me. You know what I mean? If I wasn't providing some sort of quality or product.
I believe that.
Yeah. So that's like got here somewhere,
Yeah, and it's just building on the work that you've done, like not letting the self-doubt stop you. I think that's like the main takeaway from this whole thing is like self-doubt's normal. Everyone's got it. And even the best musicians have it.
You got to compound on the good work you've done and continue to grow.
Yeah, just make sure you keep working. Like, I want to pull up another one of the. We had like several quotes. You
had.
Yeah. Even Kobe Bryant has self-doubt. So this is a quote from Kobe Bryant, who is definitely seen as successful in his field. So let's hear what he has to say about self-doubt. He says, "I have self-doubt. I have insecurity. I have fear of failure. I have nights when I show up at the arena and I'm like, my back hurts, my feet hurt, my knees hurt. I don't have it. I just want to chill. We all have self-doubt. You don't deny it, but you also don't capitulate to it. You embrace it." So I think that's what we're trying to do here. I think we're trying to show people, because when I meet musicians, a lot of times there's this posa, and there's this attitude of like, no, you just have to be the most confident all the time. That's how you get ahead. But like at the same time, like I think I've gotten to a point as a musician and am surrounding myself now with musicians who are incredible, who I'm finding we need a space to have this self-doubt, permission to have this self-doubt, but at the same time not let it capitulate us. Not let it stop us. Talk about it, address it, and then figure out how to like take it and use it as a strength.
Yeah. Use it to like improve your product, improve your musicianship, improve your technique.
Yes.
Whatever. Use it as like a means to build and grow, but like also not be something that brings you down and stops you. Mm-hmm. We were talking about this when we were actually making the coffee. I thought about Whiplash, right?
Yes.
The movie Whiplash. I'm sure many people who are listening to this podcast have seen it. Like talking too much into the mic?
No, talk more into the mic.
Talk more into the mic. I was far away. I'll just put a compressor on it, whatever.
Awesome.
No, it's not. So what was I talking about?
Whiplash.
Whiplash was a crazy movie, and I walked out of it like brain like completely exploded. Like, but on the other hand, it's something that I'd already seen so much of, like especially jazz musicians. Like, there's so much self-doubt. It's like, I'm the worst. I'm terrible. And like, what is greatness? Like, what is, in whose eyes do you have to be great? So much like self-doubt, like involved in that movie, like on every angle. And I don't, so like, yeah, obviously the movie itself is like an extreme example of all of these things and is like, I don't know. My biggest issue with Whiplash was that like it kind of puts music as like it's a one person thing. Like it's just the drummer. You don't really see the rest of the band. And music is such an interactive experience, and like when you're playing with other musicians, it's huge. And you don't really see that in the movie. That was my biggest issue. But I guess that was kind of like the honing in, maybe, but that's why
you were in his head.
Yeah, you were in his head, and that was, I think, what they were trying. Even though they lost the other musicians, that was the point they were trying to make. It's like everything going on inside this kid's head and the teacher's head, and like the self doubt and like what's great and like, am I great? Can I be great? Like what's going on? So it's like clearly a real issue.
That movie resonated so deeply. Yeah, man. Like, I almost like, I probably did cry at the end when he like, when he was doing that final scene where he like just